connections. So this is going to be our X variable. On workers' organizational success, so this is going to be some measure of success. We've gathered data in a very large company. We measure connection, the number of different people that workers talks to on average during the day. We use the log of the workers' wage to measure the success. Initially, we only have a cross-section of workers. Discuss whether a simple regression of wages on connection would allow to identify the effects of connection. This should really be sort of like a three-step process, okay? The first step is, what does the question mean with identify? What do we mean by identify the effects? Identify should immediately relate to unbiasedness. Unbiasedness should immediately relate to A5 holding. To show that we have a problem in a cross-section, the third step is for you to come up with an example that shows this violation. Okay? So to come up with an example that shows this violation. So, A, to be able to identify, we need an unbiased estimator, i.e. A5 must hold. If you believe that the A5 doesn't hold, all you have to do is come up with one example on that. Okay? All you have to do is come up with one example only. So, if connectedness, right? If connections are correlated with other variables in the error term, A5 will be violated. Now, if you were in an exam, this would be the time to stop and think, what could mean a very clear variable that both influences my salary and also influences the level of talks or connections that I'm going to have in any given day? Here you have to think carefully. Let me give you an example that's not what Jordic is, but it's what an example that one of your colleagues, Charlene, gave in class. So one way that you can think about it is to say, what about how many people you'll be able to talk to in any given day will depend on how long you've been on the job for, right? The longer you've been with a firm, chances are that the more connections you have, the more people you'll talk to, right? Therefore, but the longer you've been at the job, the more likely it is that you have a higher salary, for example. You might have increases than the other employees. So that's going to be a problem. That's going to lead to omitted variable bias. Here's another one. Depending on your role that you have, for example, if you are a manager, managers will more likely talk with more people in any given day. But manager will also get paid more than the average employees. So you also have another problem in there. You could also think of reverse causality as potential problems getting to the A5 violation. Whatever you think of, just think of one example and very clearly explain it. Okay? So this would have been enough to kind of conclude this part A. Right? So one possible example, we could think that connections, that the correlation between connection and, say, job title or job position is different from 0, and correlation between job position and wage, or ln of wage, is also different from 0. Therefore, A5 is violated. Part B. Discuss also whether having panel data would make any difference in the estimation of this causal effect. Well, if we have panel data, what we will be able to do is we will be able to eliminate individual fixed effect problems. Right? So for example, managerial position or job position, if we believe that that doesn't change over time or changes relatively little, we'll be able to get rid of those type of problems. Okay? If particular, let's say, charismatic individuals, right? Charismatic individuals will both talk with more people and will also have a higher wage, we might be able to control for those things, okay? So a panel data will go as far as controlling for individual fixed effects. So a panel will be useful in as far as controlling for individual fixed effects. Fixed effects and time fixed effects. Okay, that's my discussion for question 3.